everybody. Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. How are we doing out there on this? What is it? It is Friday, February 25th of 2022. Can't even keep track of the days anymore. That's where we are in life because the world is crazy. Things are going on crazy. But what isn't crazy is the fact that you right now listening should stop what you're doing. Give this a like, share, follow, subscribe wherever you are on any platform that you can listen to podcasts. Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, iHeartRadio. It doesn't matter where you're listening to this from. Please go whatever way you can, follow, do something like that. Rate it 5 stars if you can, and spread this word of mouth that we're doing a pretty damn skippy job here. Social media, The Alex Cuesta Show. Go search it. You can find it anywhere on social media, and it will be there. And yeah, like I said, things are going. Things are getting there in the world. It's been a crazy few days. We're going to start off with the Biden COVID tracker because, crazily enough, this might be like the one highlight of the show, which is pretty fucking bizarre considering it's COVID. So let's go. Yesterday, as of the 24th, we were at 78,667,939 cases, deaths, 941,385. As of today, we are at 78,733,444 cases. That is only an increase of 56,505. And in deaths, we are at 943,312, only an increase of 1,927 deaths. These are spectacular numbers. We are in the endemic phase. We were in it already, but this has to make it more than official that we're there. Because just look. Hopefully this is a trend. I get it. You want to see a trend. We've seen a trend of steady decline. But yesterday, 81,000 cases only. Today, only 56,000 cases. We've dropped below 2,000 deaths. It's doing much better. COVID is doing much better, period. And, Biden has a great current strategy. Don't fucking do anything. That's an amazing current strategy. As we lift up more restrictions, as we lift up more max mask mandates, as we get rid of vaccine mandates, look at everything. Everything's coming to be. Basically, everyone in the country has gotten this so far in one form or another, for the most part. If you haven't, you're lucky. COVID sucks. But we're coming out of it. We are out of it. We are in the endemic phase of this. But as we must do, since nobody else does, we are holding Joe Biden to task. Every single death is still on him. Every single case is still on him. So he is in a terrible situation right now because it keeps on going until the federal government claims that we are in an endemic phase. If they want to continue calling this a pandemic, I will continue tracking these numbers. When they call it an endemic, when they finally lower it, we will give his final tally. We'll tell you how many deaths he is responsible for and how many cases he is responsible for, because that will go on his ledger as the left likes to continue to try and put it on Donald Trump's, even though they don't mention it much anymore, considering how much worse Biden's response has been. So it's kind of a touchy subject for them. They don't like to lose. They don't talk about it very much. But let's get on with the show. We got a good amount of things to do today because I do have to talk about what's going on in Ukraine a little bit. And then I have a few runner-up articles to go through, just kind of talk about before I get to the main article. So first off, Biden has finally sanctioned Putin himself and Larionov. I don't know the other guy's name. He's a minister, but two of the biggest people in the government, considering Putin is the biggest one, and finally sanctioned him personally. He is deploying more boots to go and join up with the ones that are already sitting in our NATO allies nations to kind of be a buffer. And NATO has moved the NRF, the NATO response force, to go into these Eastern nations that border Ukraine because they're nervous as shit. And NATO is showing some force there. So the NRF is a force of 40K strong. So, they're a pretty formidably sized force. Yes, they're not the size of a nation, but just for a shitty little, international pact, that's pretty relevant. 40,000 troops is pretty relevant. So that's happening right there. That's, Biden is still extremely weak. It took him how long now to sanction Putin? That should have been the first thing he did. Putin apparently has offered to do talks with Ukraine in Minsk, but that's only if Ukraine surrenders. and Ukraine's not going to surrender. They are fighting their asses off to hold on to Kiev. The Klitschko brothers, I think I mentioned it yesterday, but the boxing champions, millionaires, Klitschko brothers are staying and fighting in Kiev. They are defending their turf. It doesn't seem like the Ukrainian people are ready to leave. Russia's having a little more trouble than they thought, kind of trying to take Kiev and any of the major cities. All the major cities are still standing, but it is only 2 days of fighting, and we will see what happens. One cool story that people might want to look into in terms of this. We have our first ace of the 21st century. There is a mysterious Ukrainian pilot that has shot down 6 planes, 6 fighter jets for Russia. And it's our first ace in the 21st century. Dogfighting isn't what it used to be, but it still can happen apparently. So that's pretty ballsy, pretty cool. Ukrainians are fighting their asses off. So don't have much to say about the people on the right that are really naysaying this and trying to find every single reason to tell us that we shouldn't get involved. We shouldn't be involved, that Russia's in the right. Like, no, fuck you. Russia's not in the right. I don't care what a nation has done in terms of their past, because a lot of people point to their involvement in World War II and what happened when, Hitler was controlling a lot of things. And there were sections of Ukrainians that were Nazis. It's not the whole country. That is a very fractioned country. So it's bullshit what the propaganda Putin's been throwing on, and all the things about the genocides and stuff like that. A lot of unproven stuff being thrown around now. If it is proven, please give me facts, because I haven't seen them about Ukraine. I know they're extremely corrupt. I know that they're very much an Eastern Bloc type of country, an Eastern Europe type of country, where they are shady. They are pretty fucking brutal. Those types of things happen, but they're still a sovereign nation. And sovereign nations deserve to have their borders respected and to have their country respected, and to not attempt to be annexed and usurped because a madman right next to your country believes you belong to them. So that's just it. That's just the bottom line on this. Geopolitically, that's all that matters. All right. So let's get into some of the runner-up articles here that I want to talk about. First off, from the Political Insider, a website I've never heard of, but they have right information here. The article is written by Becky Noble and it's titled "Squad Member Rashida Tlaib Will Deliver Far Left Response to Biden's State of the Union." By the way, I don't know if it's Tlaib or Tlaib. I don't know. Don't care, actually. But so she's an idiot squad member, one of the far left insane people. And she is delivering a response to the leader of, I guess not the leader of her party, because she is doing the response for, I think it's the Working Families Party, so a communist party. The Working Families Party is a communist party. They are not the Communist Party, but they are a communist party. That's a Marxist party. Working families, that is exactly the type of thing that Marx would be talking about, would be promoting, is the workers, the labor. So she is doing a response for a Marxist party. And it's bizarre considering she caucuses with the Democrats. So you would think that she would, essentially respect the leader of her party because she caucuses with them, and that she would kind of, accept whatever he had to say. But no, she is going to do a response. Now, whether it's a complete and total shot at Biden or not, I don't think she's going to take shots necessarily at Biden. She's certainly going to go after Republicans and conservatives. She's definitely going to attack Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, blah, blah, blah. Let's see how far she goes. Because you got to remember, Joe Biden ticketed himself as a moderate. And Rashida Tlaib is anything but a moderate. She will tell you that herself. She's not moderate. So is she going to target Joe Biden? If so, what does that do for the midterms? Like, how do they think this is a good idea? Like, I think it's a great idea because it only fractures them more. Let them keep on fracturing themselves. Let them keep hurting themselves. Let them keep pushing the very few the very few Democrat voters left to have half a brain over to the right and vote for people on the right because they don't want to vote for Marxism. Like, let's do this. So that's happening. The State of the Union is on Tuesday, and I believe that Tuesday, I'll give you that date, is the 1st. So Tuesday the 1st, the State of the Union, March 1st. So definitely listen to that if you can stomach listening to Biden. It's not even that he can't speak. It's not even that he's a bad speaker. I mean, he spews garbage out of his mouth. That's kind of just a left thing to do. They just spew nonsense. But he just can't talk anymore. The guy's old. He loses his train of thought. He tells stupid fucking stories like your grandfather would that are not relevant to anything. But it's still the State of the Union, still the President of the United States. He's obviously going to be very much talking about the Ukraine-Russia situation. He'll be touting his sanctions, which have done little to nothing to deter Vladimir Putin. The only thing that has changed Putin's, I guess, mindset, apparently, is he had a conversation with President Xi in China. So that seems to be the turning point. It has nothing to do with what the NATO nations have done. It has nothing to do with what the United States has done, what President Biden has done. He knows the West is weak. He very well knows the West is weak. He doesn't care what the West does. So, but we shall see. The State of the Union is going to be interesting. And just of note, if you're interested, if you're the type of person that likes this stuff, giving the Republican response is Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. This is pretty significant considering that they usually give the response for somebody that they have high respect for in the party, that they think is an up-and-comer. Now, take this as you will if you're on the right, because more of the further right factions, a little more of the libertarians, might look at this as another establishment shill in Kim Reynolds giving a speech. I don't know much about Kim Reynolds, so I can't say whether or not she's a rhino, an establishment hack, a uniparty member, or if she is actually someone that is on the right. Who knows? But if you're interested in that, she'll be given that response. I don't know if there's anyone scheduled from the further right to give a response. I don't think so. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, the fracturing going on there. And of course, they'll tell you there is no fracturing going on. The Democrats are strong. They're united under Joe Biden and his great current presidency and all the great things he has done. And that's about all they'll say, because he really hasn't done anything great. Oh, he got the infrastructure bill passed. Hooray! Yeah. Okay. Next article that everyone should go check out. It's from apnews.com. Attacks from within seen as a growing threat to elections by Christina A. Cassidy. Synopsis of this, which is absolute hilarity at this point. So going back to beginning 2015, 2016, when Trump was running and he was warning about Russian tampering, we were told by then President Barack Obama that our elections are too sacred, too secure to ever be tampered with by Russia. Stop living in the Cold War era. McCarthy's gone. Our elections are ironclad. Fast forward to Trump winning. Not my president. The election was rigged. It was stolen. It was sexism. It was this. It was that. And 4 years of absolute propaganda from the left about how elections are bad. No, 2 years, actually, only 2. Because then once they won the House and Senate back, wow. Okay, now elections are ironclad. So 2 years later in 2018, when the Democrats gained and they gained control in Congress again, those elections were just fine. They were just fine. They were great elections. They ran smoothly. Anyone that complains is just trying to undermine democracy. And then fast forward to 2020. And here we go. Joe Biden, the most popular president of all time, apparently, 81 million votes. These elections were ironclad. Anyone complaining about fraud, President Trump continuing to say that he won and that 2020 was a rigged election, it's just undermining democracy. He's just a terrible person. Not that anytime that they've lost, it's been a big fraud case. It's been racism. It's been sexism. It's been misogyny. It's been fraud. They've said Terry McAuliffe was famous for calling for fraud. Every single time Democrats lost an election, 2020, he called for fraud. It's just something that the left loves to do, which is why it's always hilarious when they try to scream about it. Stacey Abrams has been walking around for years. She's running for governor of Georgia again. She has said since she lost, she is actually the rightful governor of Georgia. I can't wait to see what happens when she loses again. When she loses again, she's going to lose her fucking mind. So it's just always interesting. And this article is essentially saying, you can read it, but I'll give you the synopsis, that any Trump person that voted for Trump, any person that questions the 2020 election, that wants to get involved in the election process, whether it be volunteering, whether it be becoming an actual election official in any sort of way in the county, state type of thing, they are a threat Why are they a threat? Because they don't believe in the same thing. That is why they are a threat. And they try to put in here that the election officials are neutral. Fuck that. They are not neutral. If they were neutral, then they would have upheld some rules during elections where, you can't have Black Panthers with guns standing outside of Philadelphia election centers during the Obama elections. They would have maybe tried to do something about that. Or when, Republicans request to have their people who are supposed to be observing are allowed to stand close enough to observe during the 2020 elections. Or that, you don't shut the lid in the middle of the night to counting ballots and then all of a sudden wake up before anyone's back in the house to count ballots and the election numbers are completely switched to Joe Biden. So it's bizarre. Honestly, the article is anyone that supports Trump or supports the right doesn't belong in the election process. That's essentially what this article is saying. Read it, because they're trying to sit there and talk about, they mentioned 3 instances where conservatives were under question from voting things. And they're blaming it on people that support Trump and people on the right. And then they put in there that none of these things have been, there's been no, one of the big quotes, let's see. They continually say there's no widespread fraud or irregularity following the 2020 election in Colorado and elsewhere and other things. But here's the reason why there was no irregularities or fraud. They weren't investigating any of them. For the most part, they didn't investigate. Some of the members of Congress opened up things, but judges refused to open up cases and all this type of stuff. So there wasn't a lot of account of it, probably because there really wasn't. I will go on to say, here's my belief, and I will flat out say it. Did Joe Biden get 81 million votes? Fuck no. Joe Biden did not get 81 million votes. This is where the Democrats fucked up. Because if they did cheat, they cheated like morons. You don't give a walking corpse with no excitement 81 million votes. You don't do it, especially when the incumbent got 3 million more than he did to win the first time. So, Trump won against Hillary with 71 million votes. He got 74 million this time around in 2020. If you would have told me that Joe Biden got 76 million votes, won the popular, and, because of the way the Electoral College worked out, he still had a landslide Electoral College victory, all's fair. I can believe Joe Biden won the election. That is believable. That he got 81 million votes is not believable. And I think that's where Democrats really fuck themselves, because they made it obvious that they did shit. And anyone at this point that says they didn't do shit is stupid. He did not get 81 million votes. If you think that, you're a moron. You're just a flat out idiot if you think he got 81 million, especially seeing that there was no energy for him. Nobody wanted him at all. And then he brings on Kamala Harris, who's extremely unpopular. So, yeah, no, this, again, you want to tell me Joe Biden won the election? I can roll with that. If you want to tell me that he got 81 million votes, you're a moron. Anyway, so essentially this article brings up some non-starters with some things that are being investigated with weird shit going on with votes. And don't get me wrong, there are fucked up people who do dumb shit. That's definitely a thing. But they also said that none of them have found any wrongdoing in any of these investigations at all. They never actually linked Trump's name to any of them. So in the end, they're fear-mongering, saying that they really need to tighten up. They need to get in methods to ensure that things can't be tampered, elections can't be messed with. And they also were saying that they're going to do background checks and things like that. So yeah, background checks. If you're a Trump supporter, you're going to get a lot more scrutiny if you're an outward Trump supporter. But I will say this, people on the right, get involved in your elections more. Go sit there and count votes. Go do that type of shit, because that's the reason why everything is so shady. You can't blame it too much on the left, because they're the ones that are involved all the time. Get out and get involved. I will always say this. If you have questions, go get involved. Go vote. Go volunteer. Go see what it's like on the inside. Go do that. So that's what that article is about. Go read it. Here's the article that I want to talk to everyone about. And it's on the lines of the scary shit that we have been talking about. I talked about ID.me wanting to do their digital passport. Vaccine passports were all the rage in the beginning. They were shot down nationally and hushed. ID.me was attempting to create a digital passport. They're still involved in the IRS. They're not out. So let's get that out in the open. ID.me is still there. You still have to go through them. You still have to log into your shit and put your information into them. So that's been quietly swept under the rug. Now you just have the option of not sending the selfie. But if you don't send the selfie, you still have to wait for a person to meet with you in person. So I'm telling you right now, nothing has changed there. Continue to fucking fight against ID.me. That fight's not over. Get it out of your state and continue to fight back against this IRS bullshit. Talk to your senators, go state and federal senators, state and federal congressmen. Let them know you want nothing to do with ID.me, whether it's in your unemployment benefits or whether it's in your IRS filings, because you will still have to use them to get access to your stuff. And if you don't want to send a selfie, you still have to do a video conference. And you know how many people are just not going to want to be bothered with the video conference? So they're just going to send the selfie along with their social security information, along with all their, their credit score that a lot of the times is asked for. A lot of this information. And when the owner of ID.me came out and said they want this to be a digital passport to go everywhere you are, to be able to access everything, you're voluntarily giving your information to them and the federal government in concert. Be careful with ID.me. They are not gone. I also talked about the central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. We're going forward with those as well. A lot of countries are going forward, and they're now fighting a war against crypto and Bitcoin specifically, because crypto is decentralized and the central banks are scared to shit that is going to put them out of a job. So what are they doing? They want to create digital currency, also using blockchain technology, but it is nothing like a Bitcoin. It is nothing like a cryptocurrency because it is going to be centralized. And what does that mean? If you are using a centralized digital currency, you have wrong think. You can only get the necessities today. You cannot get any sweets. That'll teach you to think the right way. We're not going to starve you. Go get your milk. Go get your bread and your eggs. You want those corn dogs? Sorry, your currency is not good on corn dogs. There's a limit to where you can go. Oh, you want to take your wife out to a fancy restaurant? You voted for Trump. Sorry, dude. You can't do that. Your money's no good there. You can maybe go to McDonald's if you want tonight. That isn't too far off. Check out China and their credit scores and the way that they work. And now they've unrolled their digital currency. Look at how they're going to use it. If they're going to combine it with their social credit scores. And if you don't have a good credit score, your currency is going to be locked and you can only get certain things or nothing. It's a scary world we're about to live in, people. And this isn't fear mongering. This is legitimate. This is what the powers that be that love to have control want. Be wary. And what I'm about to read to you now is another chip there. This is from Forbes.com, written by Suzanne Rowan Kelleher. A national vaccine pass has quietly rolled out, and red states are getting on board. Let's go. Even as the Omicron variant loses its grip on the world, destinations continue to require travelers, get out of here, travelers to show proof of vaccination. And increasingly, a paper CDC vaccination is not cutting it. Think of what she just said. We are out of the pandemic, and you are still required to show that you are vaccinated. You're still required to show that you are clean. This has nothing to do with health. Let's keep going. While the United States government has not issued a federal digital vaccine pass, a national standard has nevertheless emerged. To date, 21 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico offer accessibility to the Smart Health Card, a verifiable digital proof of vaccination developed through the Vaccination Credential Initiative, a global coalition of public and private stakeholders, including Microsoft, Salesforce, Oracle, the Mayo Clinic, and other health and tech heavyweights. All of those companies are involved in the World Economic Forum. All of them. And the fact that the Vaccine Credential Initiative is a global coalition of public and private stakeholders, that is fascism. Public-private partnerships are fascism. Stakeholder capitalism is not capitalism. It is another form of socialism. These are the people that want to control everything about your life. They are okay with CBDCs. They want them. They are okay with digital passports. They want them. And now they are forcing you to get a vaccine passport. They're calling it a vaccine pass. But if we're out of a pandemic and It is showing that this is not deadly to most people. Most people are not wearing masks anymore. We're not social distancing. We're kissing. We're hugging. We're saying hello to everybody again. We're going to crowded places. Why should I have to show you my vaccination status? Why is this necessary? It isn't. Let's keep going. And very soon, at least 4 more states will be rolling out access to smart health cards. We've seen a notable uptick in states that have officially launched public portals where individuals can get verifiable vaccination credentials in the form of smart health cards with a QR code, says Dr. Brian Anderson, co-founder of the VCI and chief digital health physician at Mitre. Now, again, these aren't necessary, people. Don't get a smart health card. Don't be stupid. Do not get one. Let's keep going. There is already an impressively widespread availability of smart health cards in the US. More than 200 million Americans can now download, print, or store their vaccination records as a QR code. When the QR code is pulled up, only the individual's name, date of birth, and vaccination information is visible. No other medical information or personal data is shared. This code is also digitally signed to ensure that the card was issued from a verified location and to prevent forgery. So they want to make sure that you are vaccinated. This is still vaccine versus non-vaccinated. So even as the pandemic winds down and the unvaccinated are not a threat to anybody, or shouldn't be, because again, the whole argument is if you're vaccinated, the unvaccinated aren't a threat to you. Even though it shows that Omicron, you can still get and transmit it, but no one likes to care about science anymore as much as they espouse caring about science. But this is leaving behind the unvaccinated. It's preventing forgery because so many people that were unvaccinated were forging vaccine cards to just continue to live in society. We are in a papers, please society. Realize that. As we're demanding Putin stops being an autocratic madman and trying to take over another country, we are here trying to make papers easier to access for companies to know who's acceptable in society and who isn't. Look at what's happening here. Smart health cards ease travel. That's a little bullet point here. For individuals, the benefits of having access to personal digital vaccine records is threefold. First, it's a huge plus for travel in the US and abroad. Many indoor cultural attractions and performance venues in the US require proof of vaccination. We believe it gives people a peace of mind when the folks around them are unlikely to be contagious, says Gus Warren, CEO of Bindle, a health verification app that allows venues to verify the vaccination status of patrons. So let's say this, Bindle's evil. If you're making money off this, you're evil. And no, because what is it going to be, a scarlet letter if you don't have the vaccination? How is it a good thing that you're creating an all access club for people that decided to make a health choice? This is not okay. This whole entire, you need a vaccine that isn't actually a vaccine. You need a very good pre-treatment to a disease that most likely is not going to kill you, to a virus that is very most likely not going to kill you. You need to show proof of it in order to gain access to society is wrong on every which way. It will never be correct. Your sense of safety and security is not worth infringing on somebody else's rights, period. Let's keep going. Bindle's growing list of clients spans more than 30 states, from blue strongholds like California and New York to red leaners like Texas, Florida, Arkansas, Missouri, and Georgia. At the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., for example, there's a Bindle lane that offers FastPass-like efficiency in scanning QR codes from a number of vaccine verification platforms used around the world. So this is hilarity right here. Blue strongholds, California, New York, absolutely. But red leaners, Texas, Florida, Arkansas, Missouri, and Georgia, they're trying to convince you that all 5 of those states are purple. They're trying to convince you of that. This is a little bit of wordplay here. Red leaners, not red strongholds, not Republican strongholds, which they are. Florida does go purple, but for the most part, it's a red state. All these states are for the most part a red state, including Georgia. But putting things like a red leaner, that is dishonest from Forbes and the writer. It's dishonest. It's also concerning that these 5 fucking states have smart health cards. That is concerning as well. Something needs to be done there. Again, talk to your state and federal senators and assemblymen or whatever it is, congressmen. And again, presenting this as a fast pass like efficiency. So yeah, get it because it's convenient. They're trying to push you to get into the cool club for convenience. This is all about convenience and ease of access. This has nothing to do with health. This has nothing to do with anything else but them wanting to continue to gain control and access to your records. You are giving this to a third party. Realize Smart Health Card is a third party. You are still giving your information there. As much as they're saying it's private, it's private. Hacks happen all the time. You're giving your information to the wrong place. Let's keep going. The Smart Health Card is such an important development, and the Vaccine Credential Initiative has been phenomenal in getting this out there, says Warren, noting that while Bindle recognizes several interoperable standards, the Smart Health Card has emerged as the most important. Absolutely, it has become the standard across the U.S. and North America, which is scary that this is rolled out so quickly. And all of these companies are competing to get your information and assist in controlling you. That's fucked up. Let's keep going. And at the international level, we are continuing to see intense interest in a coordinated international approach, says Anderson. And that is not diminished at all. I think quite the opposite. So let's do the last paragraph here. To wit, every Canadian province have now adopted Smart Health Card verification, as has Aruba, the Cayman Islands, Singapore, and Japan. And in Africa, the Smart Health Card is rolled out in Kenya and Rwanda, just the first of 32 African countries in the Smart Africa Alliance to adopt a digital-first approach to healthcare records. So let's go back real quick. The international level. Remember the companies we talked about up there, all of them being involved in the World Economic Forum? Of course, this is going to get rolled out internationally. It was always planned to. All those companies are going to assist it. And then when talking about Canada, of course, Canada is going to do it. They're an autocratic state at this point with Justin Trudeau, especially what's been going on with the truckers up there. I'm not going to let that one go. He's still an autocrat. He is a dictator at this point. So here's another little bullet. The case for red states. Here's Forbes, a magazine trying to help push conservatives that might read this magazine for money purposes, because Forbes is supposed to be about money, trying to convince them that this is okay. Let's keep going. The second argument for adopting a digital vaccine verification system is the one swaying red state governors. Having digital access to personal health records empowers the individual. You have that access anyway on your computer and on your smartphone. You don't need it in a third party and a QR code. Here we go. More than a dozen states have launched their own Smart Health Card-based portals. At least 7 others, including Arizona, Mississippi, and West Virginia, have turned to a third-party MyIR Mobile to issue smart health cards. Minnesota has chosen Docket, another third-party option. Most right-leaning states offering smart health cards do it quietly without any fanfare. But Big Red South Carolina expects to roll out a portal for smart health cards by the end of March, reports Politico. This isn't a passport, South Carolina's director of immunizations told Politico. This is essentially a COVID card that people can get at their convenience because it's their record. Well, fuck you. It is a passport. When you are required to show it in order to get into certain places and do certain things, it is a passport. This is not just to have your own records. If it was just to get your own records, that is completely different. If it wasn't going to be a necessary piece in order to access places, that is different. But this is being used in a nefarious way. It is being used to deny people parts of society. This is as good as a vaccine mandate without it happening. The private sector allowing it to happen to themselves. Let's keep going. Utah was one of the first red states to get on the smart health card train. For former Utah Governor Mike Leavitt, a Republican who was the Secretary of Health and Human Services in the George W. Bush administration, the issue boils down to individual rights. There's always a question about who owns the data and the rights to access that data, Leavitt said at a recent global forum on smart health cards. But one thing is unchallengeable, and that is I own a right to have my own data and to have it in the form that I can present it conveniently for the kinds of things I want to do. And that's the problem right there, Mr. Leavitt. And it shows you were a part of the George W. Bush administration. Not surprised there. You're a rhino neocon. But that's the problem. I should not have to present it to do the type of things I want to do. I should not have to present my vaccination status to do these types of things. This is not what, when it gets to endemic status, especially, this needs to be all over. And it is an endemic at this point. This is over. COVID is essentially over. But they're pushing these things to continue keeping us in fear and to continue to control us. It's insane. Let's keep going. The idea of being able to have trustworthy copies of your own health records is not a red or blue state issue, echoes Anderson. It is an individual empowerment of your own health data. What we're going to see over the next month is a growing number of red states recognize and appreciating the importance of empowering their individual citizens in their states. And that will be when you know that the uniparty has won, when the states all start doing that. Because it is wrong. This is not empowering individuals. Again, we have access to these records anyway. You're given a card when you get the fucking shot, and you can access your records regardless. You always have access to your records however you want. You don't need to have it in a third-party app. That should be something between you and your healthcare provider or your pharmacist, not a third party. This isn't about individual rights for citizens. This has nothing to do with that. And they're presenting it that way because individualism is a buzzword for people leaning on the right. This has nothing to do with individualism, nothing to do with individual control. What does have to do with it is having the autonomy to say no to these shots, having the autonomy to say no, and to still be able to have access to every single facet of individual life and amenities and joys. They're trying to present this in a flowery light, and it's not right. Here's the fear mongering. We're into it. This won't be the last pandemic. Lastly, having a vaccine verification system in place prepares the U.S. for the next coronavirus variant, as well as the inevitability of a future pandemic. So let's break down that one sentence there, right there. For the next coronavirus, they're already predicting that it's going to happen again. There's sick fucking people that are rooting for this shit to continue because it benefits them. And then the inevitability of a future pandemic. How long from now? The last real pandemic was the Spanish flu of 1918. It's over 100 years ago. So yeah, let's get these in order for the next pandemic in 100 years. No. These people are playing fucking games. This is not necessary for preparedness at all. Let's continue. Today, the main threat to our health and economy remains the Omicron variant, says Anderson. But it's going to be pie in a couple of months, and it's going to be the same situation. Yes, we're going to get onto an endemic phase of all this, but that doesn't change the need to continue to protect the citizens of the nation from highly transmissible and communicable diseases. But you don't nanny state it, Mr. Anderson. You don't nanny state it. The fact that we've given up so much power to government officials to make nanny stating okay just goes to show how weak we become as a society. Let's continue. Vaccination verification will be increasingly important at an international level, so Anderson says. And so if we want to enable all of our citizens from every state to be able to participate in the safe travel across international boundaries and to participate in international commerce, wow, it'd be important for our government officials in every state to enable this. So let's look there. Be able to participate in international commerce, ESG, environmental, social, governance. This is the social aspect. Do you agree with the vaccination? Do you agree with vaccine mandates? Do you agree with what the government is trying to implement? No, you don't want to get this? There's a tick on your social score. And now you can't do certain things. You can't participate in international commerce because the S in your ESG isn't good enough. This is real shit, people. That statement says a lot more than you think. Safe travel across international boundaries. You won't be allowed to leave. They're trying to make this a global thing. This is a step towards a one world government, World Economic Forum, global citizen type of bullshit. They want us to stop being individuals in America. Our individualism is a threat to them. Our capitalist ways are a threat to them. Don't let the World Economic Forum and people that want one world government shit win. Let's go. Last part of this fucking article. Where else to get a smart health card? Given the political landscape, Anderson recognizes that some states may never get on board. We're not going to have all 50 states leveraging this approach, he says. But the vast majority of vaccinated individuals in the U.S., over 200 million of them, already have the ability right now to go and get one of these credentials. That includes anyone vaccinated at any branch of Walmart, Sam's Club, CVS, Duane Reade, Walgreens, Costco, Kroger, Rite Aid, or any of the dozens of other companies participating in the retail pharmacy program. To access an electronic version of your vaccination record, log on to the online COVID portal of the brand where you got your shots. And whether your state is red or blue, your healthcare provider is increasingly likely to offer a digital vaccination record. More than 100 major health systems and hospital groups across the country now offer smart health cards to patients. These include Kaiser Permanente, Tenet Health, Scripps Healthcare, Center, and the Cerner and other healthcare heavy hitters. Big regional healthcare groups in the SMART consortium span the country from Central Health, blah, 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 blah. It's just talking more. So this article is terrifying, to be quite honest. It's been sleight of hand everywhere. I mentioned vaccine passports weren't a thing they was trying to slip. They gave up on those in the federal level. They were trying to slip the digital passports, but they had companies like this already. I was wrong. The vaccine passports are already being worked on. And what did they do? It's public-private partnership bullshit. It's private companies working with states to do this stuff. It's terrifying, because what this is trying to do is to continue this battle of vaccinated versus unvaccinated, especially with a vaccine that is a very good pretreatment and not actually a vaccine. This is not a real vaccine, period. Scientifically, it's not. But, I don't care if you want to get it or not. No one should care if people want to get it or not. But the fact that this is now furthering the divide of people that don't want to get the vaccination are now going to be even more fucked out of society as this rolls and rolls and rolls. Do not get a smart health card. Start to fight against this. Don't do it for convenience purposes. Stop doing shit for convenience. I'm guilty of it. I use Amazon all the time because it's convenient. But Amazon is a member of the World Economic Forum. We should not be using any companies that are members of those, any of them. It's a terrible organization. It is World Economic Forum is just patently evil. And these smart health cards aren't good either. They are vaccine passports through and through, and they are not helping you with your individualism. They are helping separate us from them. And that is completely and totally and will forever be wrong. We are now officially in a papers, please society. And it's fucking terrifying. But just so anybody knows, I'm not going to stop with this. I'm not going to stop fighting myself. I'm going to continue. I took the 2 shots. Absolutely, I took the 2 shots. At the time, I thought it might help me. I'm not getting the booster. That ain't happening. Not getting a smart health card. That's not happening. I already got fucked into giving ID.me the access to my shit because I needed some help. But as far as that's going to go, I'm fighting back against a lot of this shit. I'm going to continue to talk on here. I'm going to continue to do this stuff. But, we got to get involved more. People have to get involved more. That's just it. And even if it's just making a phone call to your state senator, your state representative, your federal senator, your federal representative, even if it's just making a phone call and doing that, that helps. It does. Because when they get flooded with enough phone calls about the same topic, they have to pay attention. Don't think that your one phone call is useless. Because if you're making that one phone call and you're brave enough to do it, and thousands of other people get on the same bravery scale and it becomes an issue, it will have an impact. So please get involved. Please try and fight against this shit because this is scary stuff, people. All right, then. Thank you so much for listening, as always. I appreciate you all. Give me a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes, and spread this word of mouth. Social media, The Alex Cuesta Show. Go search it. You'll find it anywhere you can find that. And as it is Friday, I will talk to everybody on Monday. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Look out for the Alex Cuesta Show with David and I popping up at some point this weekend, probably Sunday. And just have a great weekend. And I will see everybody on Monday. Hopefully Ukraine is still standing by then. So long, everybody.